We have a lot of things to get to, but I thought Miami should lead the dance, even though the biggest superstar in mixed martial arts history is back. We all knew he'd be back. Or I shouldn't say that, but most of us, certainly any of us who know what makes this man tick, knew that Conor McGregor was going to be back in a competitive setting. And there's really only one setting for him, and that's the UFC. And it's going to be Michael Chandler at 170 pounds, and it's going to come on the tail end of a stint on The Ultimate Fighter between these two gentlemen. Your thoughts on all of that?
I think this is the right move for a couple different reasons. I think it's the right move for the UFC. You have a guy in Conor McGregor who has been the biggest name, one of the biggest names in sports, let alone the UFC and mixed martial arts. And he's taken on one of the most exciting fighters in mixed martial arts in Chandler. I think it's a good fight. I think it's going to be an exciting fight. Both those guys have a shot. I'm looking forward to seeing how Conor McGregor comes back from this. On a technical level, I think it's a good fight for him in this first comeback after that broken leg. Chandler, of course, is going to oblige and try to stand and trade to try to entertain the fans. I would think. So I don't know. I think it's going to be an exciting fight and a huge one. And it's a good way to kind of build it up with the Ultimate Fighter.
All right, so Conor McGregor will be competing at 170 pounds, and I hate to get ahead of ourselves in some respects, right, because they are going to coach on The Ultimate Fighter, and I do think it's a setting in which both men obviously can shine, and we'll see, where Conor McGregor is at in terms of his overall commitment, right, because I have said he is a master orator, right, puts me to shame when it comes to, natural articulation skills. So if Conor McGregor is willing to give people things on television alongside Michael Chandler, it could be absolutely electric, right? But ultimately for Conor McGregor, he's 7-0 in the UFC at 145 pounds, 1-3 in the UFC at 155 pounds, 2-1 at welterweight. So there's some unknowns with Michael Chandler competing at welterweight. How do you handicap this fight? I'll get you the betting line in a minute. My twin brother's ripping on you and me, by the way, just because we can't predict the betting line. It's okay, buddy. He's like, dude, you guys think that fucking Gilbert Burns would be minus 190 against Jorge Masvidal? He's like minus 435, properly priced. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But what do you think about Conor McGregor and this fight at welterweight, even though seemingly it could still be a fight that is relevant when it comes to the lightweight championship picture?
Conor McGregor could fight at any weight at this standpoint. The name is going to bring in fans to watch no matter what. And at 170 pounds, I don't think it's going to be a big deal for either Chandler or Conor McGregor. They're both around the same size. Chandler's going to be a little shorter, a little bulkier. And for Conor McGregor, I think that he's at the stage of his career where, unless it's for a belt or leading to a belt, I don't see him wanting to cut that weight at this standpoint. So I don't know. I think this may favor Conor in some ways, but Chandler's not going to have a problem in the power and strength department fighting at 170 pounds against a true 155er in Conor McGregor.
I wonder the extent to which Chandler wants to wrestle. I mean, perhaps there's some backdoor agreement that he can't wrestle and he just has to strike. No, but I think largely it'll be a striking fight, and I do think one of these men is getting knocked out. So, Kenny, care to venture a guess as to what the betting line might be for these two individuals? And you're right, as I let you marinate on it, I want to give you 20 seconds to think about who might be favored and where the price might be. But, it's not like this easy cut for Michael Chandler down to 55 or 56, right? Like if this was you at this stage of your career, you're Michael Chandler. Ken Flo would love to have this fight at 171 pounds. So to that end, Ken Flo, who's the favorite? What do you think is the betting line? Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler at a date to be determined.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's going to be a lot of question marks around Conor McGregor's return, that leg, and how that holds up. Chandler has been the more active guy. So I would assume that Chandler is going to be the favorite here in and around, 2-1?
So, Cody, unless I am mistaken, it is minus 110 on both sides. I looked it up on bestfightodds.com. Yep, there it is from DraftKings Sportsbook. Minus 110 on both sides. Now, getting predictive when it comes to forecasting betting lines. Like, Kenny, if you saw what I predicted for some of these lines, like for UFC 284 before I write them down, god awful, right? So it's not always the most exact science. Take Masvidal and Burns, for example. Now, I understand that Gilbert Burns is going to be a favorite, and in my mind, prohibitively so. But minus 500 to me is still a huge number, and that is not me denigrating Gilbert Burns. And now that fight is in Miami, I don't think it hurts either guy. It's a home game for Gilbert Burns as well. But the king of the 305 is Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, and right now he's north of plus 400. To me, that's a huge number.